Okay, good morning. Today we have Mr. Robert Rodriguez with us today. He will be speaking on the roles of an oil field consultant, what that consists of, how he got into the role, any highlights within his day, what are some pros, what are some cons, how has COVID impacted his daily routine, and address any questions that you all may have. If you do have questions, please address them in the Zoom chat box and he'll answer those at that time. Thank you so much, and thank you, Robert, for joining us.
Uh, I'll first off start. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Uh, I'll start out by saying, I currently work as a well site supervisor for Equinor Energy, which is a Norwegian company out of Norway. They're the largest state owned oil company in Norway, and they drill wells around the world. My job right now consists of drilling wells so that they can get into completion to send down the pipeline to be after they've been fracked. Uh, and it's been currently I'm working in Ohio and what they call the Utica Shale. So we're drilling record laterals up to 31,000 feet, and it's been a very challenging operation over there. Why I chose this field was because it was one of the field opportunities that I saw for advancement, promotion within. When I first got into the oil and gas industry, I started off with Halliburton Energy Services as a fluid engineer. In the field, they call them mud engineers. But when I was asked to do this role, uh, or if I would be interested in taking a role after I got out of the military, um, I couldn't believe what the starting pay was for somebody that didn't have a degree. Uh, when I started off with Halliburton, I was actually we started off anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 a year, which is crazy to think that that's how we they start you off. That being said, I started off with Halliburton as a fluid engineer, and they send me to their training facility in Houston, Texas, and they actually have all kind. There's Seamaners, there's big training facility for Halliburton there. Uh, they're always looking for kids coming out of high school so that they can train them the way they want, and their training facility is state of the art there. So after graduating, after 6 months of training, I went into the field, and after a year of being in the field, I met a mentor, and my mentor worked with me for 2 years and got me a well site supervisor consulting job. Uh, and I've been doing that for about 19 years now, uh, working everywhere from California to the Gulf of Mexico, through the Gulf Basin, Texas, Louisiana. It's been very challenging. It's been very exciting, and it's taken me places I thought I'd never get, uh, in this lifetime anyway. Um, so as far as the level positions, currently with the way the safety uh, regimen came out about 10 years ago, that supervision, with more supervision, less accidents were happening in our industry. So where we used to work 24 hours around the clock, taking naps when we could just to get a well drilled, now we've gone to 12-hour towers, which has tremendously lowered our our safety issues. Incidents, accidents, equipment damage, and it's all test to proper supervision around the clock. Men and women ain't getting fatigued, and it's been a good thing. The industry's been taking big strides as far as safety concerns, running from fire retardant uh, clothing and to your normal PPE, personal protective wear. Uh, it's top to bottom. You can't even get on locations anymore without having these. Um, so because the 12-hour shift has started, we've been able to break out and train guys as night hands, night company man, night well site supervisors, and getting them into a day role, starting off at less pay, working them into a day role where they're getting top pay. And so as far as a ladder to climb there, the crazy thing about well site supervisors, they come from every part of the industry. I personally came from the fluid side, but I've seen guys that are directional drillers that are actually steering these laterals and getting, these horizontal laterals, trying to get to point A to point B. They also become well site supervisors, tool pushers, which tool pushers are the rig supervisors, the drilling rig supervisors or contractors. They have their own supervisors, immediate supervisor over their rig crew personnel that's on location, and they're called tool pushers. Those pushers have also been able to work themselves through the ladder into well site supervisor. So many roles take on that title, but they all start, from the bottom. And so, like I said when I started, that's the great thing about our industry, is that many ways to advance and promote your career, if you have the dedication and desire to do so. As far as what do I enjoy about the job, I love the challenge. I like working with different people in different areas all the time, meeting people, having different. Every wellbore is different, whether you move 100 feet or across the country. Everyone is different, and the challenges that each one presents, it's been that's what I enjoy probably the most about it. I see. What academic knowledge do you need? I mean, math, science, and reading, computer skills. These are very important, what we do, because everything we do is being documented, recorded, and the calculations that we have to do to whether it's a bottoms up, which means that you're taking the fluid that's at the end of the hole and bringing it back up. We do those on pump strokes with the mud pumps, which are how we actually move fluid down hole and back up to surface. Uh, you know, it's crazy to think. And when I was in school, I never paid a whole lot of attention to math because I didn't think I was going to never need it going into the military. But now I'm working with engineers that have petroleum engineering degrees and working with them every day doing math problems. So it's kind of weird to think that that's where I ended up at when I was in school. I wish I would have paid more attention because I could have caught on a lot faster had I done that. So lessons learned 2020. These things that we take for granted when we're in school, we it's funny how you can go out and start making a career for yourself and start using these things every day, which I remember saying that all the time. I probably will never use this in the real world. Well, I was wrong. As far as how has COVID-19 changed my job, it has changed it dramatically, actually. The industry right now is probably the worst it's ever been in the history of the oil and gas industry. But the projections look good. Natural gas, we're building several uh, LG plants across the Gulf Coast, from Lake Charles all the way down to Brownsville. Those plants are going to provide major job opportunities in the near future, and the projections for natural gas once we start opening up exports worldwide again are going to be huge, and so that's everybody in the industry right now is very excited about the upcoming days. It's a struggle to go day to day right now, but I mean the future looks bright. As far as traveling, obviously where I used to fly to Ohio every 2 weeks, I've been having to drive because of the potential to uh, separate yourself in the airport. So it is added a little bit of a more risk factor in traveling, but all the same, it's we're blessed to continue to be working in these times. So uh, as far as the industry right now, horizontal drilling is where it's at. We have taken straight holes that we drilled down to a certain depth and have turned them sideways and have, doubled and tripled to become the largest oil producer in the world because of our hydraulic fracture. So, again, times are what they are. We're not the only industry being hurt by the things going on in the world right now, but for the most part, like I said, the projections look good, and I'm really happy to be in this industry that I'm in because I feel like we're going to finish strong. So, and that's pretty much all I got. Like I said, opportunities are there for from one side of the spectrum to the other, and like the fact that you can start from the bottom of the left corner to the top of where I'm at right now is pretty. It's pretty. I don't know if there's another industry in the world that can say that you can start from the bottom and get to the top in a fairly quick manner. Like I said, it took me 2.5 years. I've seen it take 20 years for other people, but I know a lot of people that started different areas of this industry and have worked their ways into a well site supervisor, drilling consultant position. And like I said, with the oil being what it is and natural gas being what it is, I mean, our job titles are anywhere from 200,000 to 350,000, depending on who you're working for and what your day rate. But very broad spectrum. But you can build yourself a really good life if you're willing to work away from home and enjoy the time when you are there. So that's all I got. Raquel,
We did have some questions that were keyed in. It says, what is the best and worst part of your job? I'll let you address that one, and then we'll move on to the next question.
The best thing about my job is that I get to work with different people and from all over different places. I am a team leader. That's what I did. I learned that growing up with a father that was a Vietnam vet, and then being in the military myself. And so I love challenging men and taking people that say they can't do, or I can't do that. Can't's not a word in my vocabulary. And that's probably the best thing about my job is leading men towards success and reaching our goal time in and time out. The worst thing about my job is that it's 365. There's no stopping. So cold weather, when it's raining, we call it wet sunshine because there's no days off in the oil field. When it's your time to be out there, you're there until it ends. And so that would be the worst thing. And so
the next question we have is, what is an LNG plant or LG plant?
So what they're doing now is they're taking natural gas that we have in abundance. Matter of fact, Texas is the largest gas fields in the world, natural gas. And so they've taken it and put it into containers and put tremendous amount of pressure until it goes into a liquid form. And when they do that, they hold it under compression, they express it, and now they're building cars, they're building factories, refineries all over the world are using LG to power themselves, and it's a cleaner form of energy versus the coal plants, the oil plants that are using, oil or coal, and so that's what LG is. It's liquid gas which is all it is natural gas that's been compressed into a liquid form.
Okay, the next one is, are most companies like Halliburton providing training to their new hires?
So I'm going to tell you, it's not just Halliburton. The oil field in general, no matter what you start with, are required to update training on a yearly basis, on a semi-annual basis, quarterly basis. training never stops because technology never stops, and our field is driven by technology. So it's a continuous training, whether it's from a safety standpoint, uh, whether it's from a technical standpoint, an engineering standpoint. Uh, it's always changing, always revolving, and so the training never stops.
Okay, next question we have is, um, is there any friction with those that hold degrees and those that have learned on the job? So any animosity amongst coworkers that, I guess maybe arrogance?
Yeah. To answer that question, yes, it's there. Is it abundance? No, but that's just people. I mean, you got one engineer that's going to say that, hey, and throw his weight around that he's got an engineering degree and he's smarter and better than you, and then you got the guy that's got the tremendous amount of experience and doesn't listen to anybody or new ideas. So I believe it's individually on how you handle that situation. I myself, even though I've got tremendous amount of experience, I like working hand in hand with my engineers. I'm a firm believer that more people involved in the planning uh, is more ideas being thrown, and we figure out the best way to do it together as a team. But I am not going to sit here and say no, it doesn't happen, because it does. But I think it's more on an individual basis on how you handle that situation.
Okay. What about soft skills? What soft skills do you need for your role?
What kind of skills? I'm sorry.
Soft skills, like people skills.
Yes. So definitely, you got to be a team player. We don't drill wells with one person. It takes a multiple of people, from the drilling contractor to the service companies to the cement companies to the wireline companies. I mean, across the board. And then we turn it over to a whole nother team, which is fracturing. And then they turn it over into another team from completions. And then they turn it over to another team in pipeline. And then they turn it over to another team from sales. So uh, it's team oriented, and the better teams that you build and the better work skills you have to work well with others, it's huge. uh, it can mean the difference if you staying in the industry and not. So you have to work well with communication skills, basic writing skills. You know it depending on how technical you want to go up the ladder. uh, you know It just depends whether you how far you want to push yourself. You can go into reservoir engineering. I mean, that's as technical as it gets from a math and science project. So it can be definitely, as far as soft skills are concerned, a good attitude, basic uh, mechanical knowledge. Uh, But I say that, Raquel, and I've worked with a guy that came from the Philippines that didn't even know what a crescent or adjustable wrench was, and he's currently a driller now, so making over $100,000 a year. So I met him when he didn't even know what a wrench was. So I think it's about willing to learn too, right? Wanting to learn. So.
Going off of that, talking about diversity inclusion, how is that being pushed within the male-dominated industry? How has your role to this, especially with gender inclusion for females in a male-dominated industry?
So I'm telling you right now, as far as from top of the chain, the oil companies are pushing females to be in this industry now. I know men that are being pushed out to make room because they want to be an equal opportunity employers now, and they are taking it to the heart. Uh, Especially, the company I work for, my asset manager is a female, and she is the boss. She answers to the board in Norway. That's it. And uh, so yes, depending on how most all majors have pushed, from the Schlumbergers to the Halliburtons to the oil companies, BP, Shell, Royal Dutch, Equinor, uh, BHP Billington, all these Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil, they all have pushed, you know, females to be in, and they started at the right place. They got engineers, they went and started getting female engineers and putting them in. I believe I read somewhere that recently that A&M actually graduated more female petroleum engineers last year than they did males.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful news. You did address your pay range or someone within your role's pay range. What about those for entry level positions?
So, like, depending on where you go, but you're not going to make less than $30,000 a year in oil and gas. I don't care what you do. You can be a roustabout. You're going to make $30,000 a year. And there's going to be a tremendous amount of overtime, so you could easily take that $30,000 and turn it into $50,000 pretty quick.
And does per diem affect that, or that's part of the salary?
So because of where the locations are being right now, and them finding personnel to actually do these jobs, the per diem and housing, they're all provided. So that's separate from your hourly wage.
Okay. Our next question that someone put was, what does success look like within this position, and how would you measure it?
Well, success is done by reaching your goal, time in and time out. Right? You're only as good as the last well you drill. So, and you want to be within budget, because every well we drill is AFE, which is expected financial expenses. That's what they projected to drill a certain well and complete it and whatnot. So you want to meet it where you come in under cost and reach your target. And that's what a successful well, without anybody getting injured and no equipment being damaged. If you can successfully do that, then that's what success is in my job. As far as what was the other question? I'm sorry.
That was, what does success look like, and how would you personally measure it?
And so that's it. I mean, pretty much what I just said, it answers both of those questions. So measure is by reaching your goals, time in and time out, sending people home back to their families without any injuries. And so that's a successful job.
So you talk about injuries. What are some of the hazards that one might see within your field or within the industry of oil field?
So, death. We deal with lots of high temperature and high pressure, and heavy equipment. When you put those three things into one room, if you're not careful, it will kill you. I mean, that is. So that's the reason why we see ourselves as leaders in any industry as far as safety programs and protocols go, because we don't have that room for error. So as far as that's concerned, I mean, that's where we start off our day at, is that in a safety meeting, talking about what we got planned for that day and how we're going to execute those plans to keep everybody safe.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Does anyone on the call have any other questions you'd like to address at this time? Please do so. Put your comments or questions in the chat box. I'm not seeing any other questions come in. I do want to thank you all for being on the call. Thank you so much, Robert, for your time and your knowledge. We appreciate you for joining us. You all please stay safe, please stay healthy, and once again, y'all have a good day.
Thank you.